Hi, everybody. My name is Maribel Rivera. I am the Senior Director of Community Relations here at ACEDS. I am also a marketing consultant in the legal industry. Today, I have a really special guest with me because we are making a great announcement for an addition to the ACEDS community. But just to get us started, you guys know, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to get us live. We go live on Fridays. Tomorrow we'll be live with Kenya Dixon of Empire Technologies Risk Management. I just wanted to make sure I got that right. So Kenya Dixon will be live with us. But today I have Chip Delany with me of Lineal.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, and Chip is the strategy director at Lineal. You just joined them. Congratulations on that. You had previously been with NextLP. And so just tell me a little bit about your new role at Lineal. And I'm just going to say, I love the team at Lineal. I used to, engage a lot with them when they were Iris. So I'd love to hear a lot about what you guys have planned, what your role is, and things like that.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. The big change was from really an AI creating company to one that has to translate that into something which is meaningful and usable for the people. So, going from a technology creator or a vendor to a service provider. And Lineal was a really easy choice of a team to join because it really is that. All the kind of legends and rock stars is what I'm calling them internally, because it's a group of guys that have and girls that have been in the industry for a really long time, a lot of industry veterans, but a lot of forward-thinking people. So embracing technology, looking to include everyone in the room in trying to decipher, well, what are the challenges, the greatest challenges that we have today in dealing with data in a litigation sense, and what is the best way of being able to handle that? And, there are always lots of forces at play, regardless of whether it's a large e-discovery vendor, legal service provider, or a really small one. And I think one thing that's really important today, especially when we have the introduction of artificial intelligence, is that a legal service provider thinks about the people at the end of the process. Because when we're talking about tools like AI, which is, where I've come from, and certainly a big part of my role at Lineal is being able to translate that and create pathways for our clients. We're really talking about, okay, people here at the end. How does this impact someone's role? Artificial intelligence can be a really scary thing for people. At the most basic level, it's a new tool that someone has to learn. And so there's a challenge there in familiarity and adoption. But there's all sorts of rumors and murmurs around artificial intelligence removing people's jobs. So as a service provider, it's really important to come across and say, hey, that's not the point. The point here is to supercharge you, to enable you, to make you a real champion. And that's what I want to do at Lineal, and that's why I joined the team.
So is that some of what your role there is as strategy director?
Yeah,
looking at what's going on and then kind of providing a little bit of a road map for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of that. It's working very closely with existing clients, new clients, and helping them understand what that journey looks like, right? Because again, it can be really easy to be impressed by artificial intelligence. You can show it to someone in a demo, you can show the amazing things it can do with data, but actual application, people really being able to use it and adopt it, requires a lot more. It requires a lot of stakeholders being brought on board, and that requires understanding what their roles are. Like, who works under them, right? What's the thing that motivates that person? And being able to bring them in the process so they feel that they're part of it. And it's not just this thing that's coming over them. But the other side of working at Lineal is being able to work really closely with people like Kit Mackey, who came on as our CTO. Kit was actually with me at NextLP and was a great mind there of helping bring me up to speed on all the algorithms, new technology we worked with. And of course, Kit helped build Relativity. He was their first employee. So, people like Kit joining the team, a lot of industry veterans like Marco Naska's come on as our Chief Innovation Officer. These are people who are thinking, well, okay, these are all the things that we do in the EDRM model, or, the tasks that we know are really important, but what's happening 2 steps ahead? So what's happening with information governance? What's happening with data security? this year everyone went remote. And so there are an enormous amount of challenges, and not just around being able to work securely from home, but understanding new forms of data. And so having all of these people come together, my role is about getting in the room, sitting down, understanding what our clients or what the marketplace is saying, and then navigating that information to create a really strong series of solutions which our clients are going to love. And that's what we really work towards. We've got a slight connection problem. Well, while I'm here by myself, I'll continue talking about artificial intelligence. So, that's a few things that make Lineal different. AI, but not AI from this is a tool that we have on our suite that we can use. Artificial intelligence as this is an experience which can enhance and improve your overall team, right? And that's from start to finish. Automating everything about the way we run process and we understand data, being able to create a new workflow where the next matter you can have a better start to. Taking the cold start problem out of investigations, really arming your team to be as enabled and effective as possible. And all of this coming together is what makes Lineal an exciting team to work for, because it's a family. And that's the thing that really drew me towards it. It's all owned and operated by the employees, which means that if we want to go in a radical direction, if we want to start changing the way we think about things, well, we can do that, and we can adopt and maneuver and build bespoke solutions around our clients.
And thank you for sharing that, because one of the things I noticed, and you and I have been talking about some of these things over the last few weeks, and I think even when you were at NextLP was changing things, right? Not just, we've been talking about how to engage people, especially now given COVID globally, but also talking about, innovation, and I guess that's where some of that strategy comes into play. But I was looking at your profile, just taking a little bit of a deeper dive, and I noticed that you were a board member of the AI Association. Now, and knowing that you were at NextLP, and we've done, ACEDS has done a great webinar with NextLP and just talking about AI overall, and I know that's top of mind for everybody. So can you tell me a little bit about the association and just your love of AI, because you do talk about it quite a lot. I know, I follow your videos every day, and I followed some of the posts that you've done in the past. So I'd love to get a little bit more of that and how that's going to play a part in a lot of the things that you do at Lineal.
Yeah, absolutely. So the association was a coming together of myself with a few other guys that work in fintech and then lobbying. So I met these people over a period of about a year and a half at different events, social events, networking events, and we found a common interest in understanding the direction the technology was going, which is namely that it doesn't have any regulations built around it yet. The laws haven't been written or defined, so it's unclear what the future looks like. But we thought it was really important to start that voice and start communicating about artificial intelligence, particularly in the halls where lawmakers are in DC. So the AI Association is a business league. It's a 501c6 based in DC. Our executive director, Josh Jackson, is actually at 6 Clicks, which is a regulatory monitoring AI company. One of our other board members who also created the association with myself and Josh, Joe Gideon, is the president and COO of a fintech company out of Dallas that's really incredible called Capital Works. That essentially takes all the data of a corporation and distills it down to be able to say, okay, here is where the current value is. Here are the most important ratios that you need to understand. And all we're really talking about here is data and models, right? We're talking about how can we be more efficient at finding a better way to get to the answers that we need. Because, regardless of what industry you're working in or what your role is, information or intelligence, as we're starting to call it, is the most valuable thing. It allows you to make decisions you can feel confident on. And giving people more access to that sort of technology, I think, is critical, because there are enormous challenges that we face right now, whether we're in Australia, the US, England, around being able to navigate this technology, make sure that it grows, but that it grows in a benefit for the people of society, right? That we don't have this technology being used to create greater issues of inequality. And so we created the association to create a voice for the AI community and automation community in DC, but to make sure that that voice was coming from a really good place. That, you know, we believe in a future where this technology can be great, it can achieve great things, it can enable people. And the best way to make sure we get on that path is to start the conversation. Because even when I'm talking with a law firm or a corporation, I understand that it's a process of being able to educate people, to illuminate them to things that they may not have experienced or understood. Now, if we go into topics like deep learning, that word has become more familiar with people, but what it actually means is anyone's guess if you don't spend all day around artificial intelligence, right? So these conversations, when it comes to writing laws about them, have to be informed. They have to make sure they've got the best information to understand that, look, this can be something which changes our economy, you know, really challenges existing norms and enables people. We're working more remote than ever before today. So why not give people the ability to use these technologies within their small business? Why not give people the ability to, you know, create apps, allow this kind of technology to flow so that people can have access to it and ultimately improve their communities? Because a lot of the ideas which AI is being used for are great, but there are so many other potential applications that we're just not thinking of because we don't have enough people in the room. So a good example is my wife is a teacher in CPS for about 10 years. How can we improve inner city schools by using things like artificial intelligence? How can we learn about the rates of education, where the gaps are, right? How can we improve nutrition in children's diets? How can we take the information we know about, you know, diabetes later in life, and where does that begin? And how can we map these things to be able to give people a fighting chance? So I think that, you know, the AI Association has been built to make sure that artificial intelligence and automation companies have a great voice in DC and also at the state level. But really, it's about making sure that artificial intelligence is a technology which improves us collectively. And that's something that we believe in.
How are you taking some of the things that you're doing there at the AI Association and bringing it into the legal industry?
So the beauty about putting yourself into a position where you're really forced to absorb as much information you can. The latest reports, for example, about, I don't know, AI adoption by C-suite, the latest articles that are coming out of whatever academic institution about a new development in GPUs. All of this information helps inform how we communicate with people about making these technologies a reality. And a lot of the things that I've learned since I started the AI Association is around empathizing with the end person, right? The organization or the team which actually has to use it. Because a lot of the challenges that we've had, a lot of the hurdles have been around lack of clarity from a proof of concept to actual delivery of any kind of AI solution. It's been, this technology is amazing. I can prove it's amazing. Look at what it just did. And then this hope that it'll just be adopted. But the reality is that even Office 365 in a massive corporation can take 2 years to completely deploy. And these people have jobs and lives that they have to balance in between time. So, I mean, this kind of feeds back to Lineal and the decision to go from AI creating company to service providing company. It enables me the opportunity to take all that knowledge that I've gained and then deliver these AI technologies in a way which empathizes with the end user, which understands the position that the company is working towards.
Thank you. I'm really excited about that and what we're going to see. And are there resources that people can go on to the AI Association and just download some of those, just personally, as well as, you know, I'm heavily involved in nonprofits and giving back, and I think that's something that some of the people on our board and volunteers have asked about, right? Just looking at some of that AI information. The other thing is, like, for example, tomorrow, our IDEA committee, which is our diversity, equality, inclusion committee, is hosting an event, and they're talking about how AI impacts people of color and data privacy.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to find out. So is that one of the things that the association is working on, is provide? Chip,
Yeah.
did I lose you?
No, it's
Where
okay.
can we?
It's okay. I got you. Yeah, absolutely. And there was actually I think it's the BDPA, the Black Data Professionals Association, the Chicago chapter. John Coleman, I think, was organising it. His name's Reggie Miller, is one of the either the president for the association at large. But we've been getting involved with a variety of different folks at academic institutions. We've built a relationship with Johns Hopkins, with a few other different institutions, mainly around that government area of DC, Baltimore. And the idea being that conversations like diversity, conversations like data not being used in a way that's going to negatively impact groups which have already been suffering in society through lack of representation and lack of understanding. We want to make sure that, okay, if these technologies are being developed and if different institutions are building platforms and processes for people to create careers, or even just to inform themselves and understand what it means for them, that access is there. And so the beautiful thing about AI in the tech industry is a lot of different companies have already taken to this. And we see it in evidence of these massive online open courses, which teach Python, which teach machine learning. The only thing which is missing in that, which we're working towards, is being able to educate around government policy, right? So what do these algorithms mean when it comes to understanding, people's data? Are they going to be used for being able to improve a particular aspect of a community? Well, how is that data being used? Let's be really transparent about it from the start. Health data, personal information, privacy. How much data are we putting out there that we don't know is being, harnessed and trained on by different companies? And can we create more transparency around that? But then critically, are we creating pathways of education which are actually relevant to not only 2020, but the years going on beyond this? Or do we have a dated system for getting people access to any kind of professional certification or courseware? And I think that, because artificial intelligence by its very nature does a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to understanding information and finding value in it, or intelligence, I think it's really important that any kind of policy that's written around AI, right, any kind of regulation, that it fits access for everyone, regardless of what your socioeconomic position might be. And again, I come back to the example of my wife working in CPS, and she told me that she had a budget for being able to buy school supplies for her students across all of her classes. And these were overpopulated classes, because we're talking inner city Chicago schools, of about $150 a year, right? That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. So, but what can we do around infrastructure? What can we do around improving access to cloud, access to different applications and platforms, where what you need is some sort of a process for people getting online and being able to have access to these tools, right? Is the method that we have for education relevant? Or can we write regulations and policies which take it in a direction which are going to enable the people to be much better than they previously had access to be able to give their communities a better chance? All of this is really, really critical, but it has to be solved as soon as possible, because without the right information in front of lawmakers, then it could head in a very disastrous direction.
Great. Well, I'm excited, and I'm going to be following along to see what's going on there and how we can implement some of those resources into ACEDS. One of the things I am very excited about, and the reason we're doing our special LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live today, is because you are going to be one of our featured guest columnists. You're going on our ACEDS blog, and it's going to be called.
Kangaroo.
I'm excited about this. So Kangaroo Court. So tell me a little bit about Kangaroo Court, why we came up with the title Kangaroo Court, and what people can expect from the column.
So the title's a bit cheeky. A kangaroo court is a court that ignores recognised standards of law or justice and often carries little or no official standing in the territory in which it resides. So a kangaroo court may ignore due process, come to a predetermined conclusion. The term may also apply to a court held by a legitimate judicial authority which intentionally disregards the court's legal or ethical obligations. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's mainly about me being Australian, of course, but I thought, well, what could I name this thing that's going to be kind of funny? Because I think you've got to have fun and enjoy, your work life in certain elements, but also, can kind of be a bit of a gag as well. So that's what Kangaroo Court, that's where the name comes from and what it means. But for myself, what it's really about is a vehicle for being able to have honest conversations around artificial intelligence. It's obviously my, main post of which I talk about so much, but also the challenges that not only AI, but the new working environment present for every organization or service provider. And a lot of that is around, COVID, for example, right? This has been a huge challenge for us in being able to organize ourselves, different teams, being able to connect with existing customers, being able to find new ones if you're a salesperson. And so having a channel where I can talk about, different things which are realities in people's lives when it comes to overcoming these hurdles, right? So a great example is, we were talking about not too long ago, the changes that we've seen in the LinkedIn platform. And so I started posting videos on LinkedIn in 2018 because I came over to this country for love. I met my wife here and didn't come over with any kind of business network. So there was an element of starting from scratch. But halfway through 2018, I realized, well, LinkedIn, which traditionally was always a kind of a resume platform, right? Recruiters would use it heavily. And people would use it maybe to sort of post information about a talk they've had. But as a communication platform, aside from the odd sharing of an article, there wasn't really a whole lot of original content being developed. And it just seemed to make sense to me that, well, here you've got a place where you can just share ideas. And that could be a daily idea that's in your head. It could be something which your company is working on. But you've created a platform in which you can start to communicate to more people at once. And LinkedIn is starting to change in a way that's, I wouldn't say becoming like Facebook or Instagram, but it's taking on some elements of that. The stories are a good example. Right. Now, we definitely don't want to have that platform head down the Instagram path. I'll say that first. Keep your political opinions off LinkedIn, everyone. But, what a great way to start sharing ideas. It's no different to reading a book, finding a particular chapter really interesting, and then communicating that with a colleague and saying, hey, this is a really interesting point this person brings up. I did that in an early post where I was talking about a book called Competing Against Luck. Now, that was an interesting read, and the points are really interesting in the book, but I think the value is talking about it, right? Being able to share the idea and being able to say, hey, what do you think about this? Because someone on the other end of the line can say, yeah, I really loved it. I got this out of it. I felt really aligned with the ways that I was previously acting in one manner or another. Well, someone might challenge it. They might say, that was an interesting book, but here's something else which has come on since then and has challenged the idea. Or, after reading it, I started to think, here are some things that the author wasn't considering. And so that's a small example of what is really a vehicle for communicating with other people. And the best thing about communicating at scale, and especially when it's done in kind of a professional sense, right, where we're trying to find the best ideas, where we're trying to learn insights, where we're trying to improve, and certainly what something like ACEDS is all about, communicating and sharing information. It gives you the ability to find the best clients to fit you. It gives you the ability to connect and build a network at a really organic, honest level, as opposed to, you might meet someone at a networking event, and that's great, But when you're over a period of time throwing back and forth ideas, that's really special because you're learning about how that person thinks. And so, I see Kangaroo Court as a way to communicate these ideas, as a way to be able to say, hey, here is this education challenge we had around artificial intelligence and how it fits into a legal team. Well, here's a vehicle for being able to help people with that. Here are all these challenges that we have around the new modern workplace, motivating teams, different methods of being able to communicate, or even just different ideas that are suddenly being written about. And I've read a couple of books about it. Hey, I can just share it here. And isn't that interesting? Because there are people out there who might find it valuable. And if it's worth one person getting value out of it, then it's worth the whole effort.
I love that you say that, because I think that is one of the reasons why when I joined ACEDS, they asked me to get creative and come up with different ideas, and doing things like this, right, where I can have these conversations on live, right, across all of the platforms and engaging people, and also taking some of the conversations that I'm having, like the conversation you and I had over Messenger, where we were exchanging our thoughts and ideas and talking about books and various different and technology. And I think that's what makes it different, right? We've taken all of that and we can continue having that conversation, bring other people in, and continue to build the network. And I agree. That's one of the great things about ACEDS is we're all about, yes, education, training, and certification, but we're also about, building each other up, providing more information, and really creating a community where you feel connected and can go to and, kind of share those ideas and get other ideas out of it and just continue to grow. So I love that you shared some of that information with me. First article comes out this Thursday. Any tidbits, anything you want to share, preview, or should we just wait for Thursday? I know it's going out in our weekly newsletter.
So what I want to talk about on the first one, what I am talking about is being able to understand just how far artificial intelligence has come and to become comfortable with the idea of using this technology, because there is still lots of hesitation out there. And that hesitation is about not understanding, enough about this tool or what it means or what it can do. And so when there's a lack of information, then some creativity can arise that isn't necessarily, fact-induced. It's more or less, I've heard this somewhere, or I feel this way, or, I'm a little bit terrified about this thing and what it means for me, or, God, this whole artificial intelligence thing seems so complicated that it's getting in the way of me getting from A to B on a regular day. And so the first article is about sort of putting at ease with the idea of AI, opening up and having confidence in its ability and seeing it as a way to be able to build yourself up rather than create hurdles that you have to fight through.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading it. I know I'll get a sneak preview before most, so I'm still excited. Gonna ask you, we usually do these things. We're gonna do a this or that very quickly. I know Deja is probably behind the scenes going, she's not prepared, but it's fine. It's off the cuff, and I just want to ask you, especially because we're having this conversation around AI. So one of my top questions is going to be this or that, whatever comes to mind first. E-discovery with a hyphen or without?
Without.
Okay. TAR or machine learning?
Machine learning.
Why?
Because it's what it is.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, let's get comfortable with these ideas and these words. I mean, TAR is something that was an acronym created, and it had its purpose. But I think we need to start, putting on the big boy pants and calling it machine learning. No offense, TAR favorites. No offense.
I took a course in basically AI basics, and that's what I came away with, is just like machine learning is a part of AI and TAR is just another word, an acronym that someone came up with for it.
It's legal, right? It's technology assisted review, right? So no one in a strictly AI sense is really thinking that way. They're just thinking data, tagging it, whatever the algorithms are underneath, the way the machine actually learns from that data, it's learning. And the other thing which I think we need to just start calling it machine learning is artificial intelligence models, which I wax lyrical about all the time, are going to become more and more relevant for more and more law firms, more and more corporations. And so the kind of words we use to describe these things don't need to add, a new thing because we're in this industry or whatever. We're going to have a much better time of being able to navigate these shortcomings that we might have in understanding if we just call these things what they are.
So we're going to need to come up with a glossary of terms, is what you're saying.
Oh, God, yeah.
So it's fall time. So pumpkin patch or apple orchard?
My wife would say pumpkin patch. I'm going to say apple orchard because pumpkin patches look messy.
All right. And my last one would be kangaroos or koalas?
Wallabies.
Wallabies. Okay.
Yeah, Wallabies because it's Australia's rugby team, the Wallabies.
All right.
Kangaroos because koalas are drug addicts. No one knows that, but they are. They're on eucalyptus every day. Don't trust them.
Chip, thank you so much. Any last words for our audience?
Yeah, don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to communicate your ideas, right? Keep LinkedIn non-political. Don't post regardless of how you feel about the state of the world. This is a place where you can, really gain things. And so if you have ideas, if you feel like writing an article, regardless of whether you're a project manager, a salesperson, if you feel like collaborating with people, reach out and engage and get those conversations started, because it's going to ultimately improve your ability to source and share ideas internally. Your own stock in your workplace will rise, and you're going to be better for it. So you've got a great platform for being able to communicate, and you should use it.
Where can people email you directly if they want to get in touch and just have a conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. And, for everyone out there, don't feel pressured by calling someone that works at the services like you're going to be pitched left, right, and center. I'm open to any kind of Zoom chat that anyone wants, coffees to talk about these ideas or anything at all. They can reach me at cdelany@linealservices.com. And if they just go onto my LinkedIn, Chip Delany, they'll be able to see videos where I've posted that email address as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Chip. I'm looking forward to your column on a weekly basis. Everyone, Chip's column comes out this Thursday. You'll find it in the ACEDS newsletter, or you can visit aceds.org and find it underneath our ACEDS blog. Chip, I hope to have you back again soon so you and I can continue this conversation with everyone else. I know we will anyway. And if you guys have any ideas, any thoughts, please feel free to reach out to Chip. And you can always reach out to me at mrivera@aceds.org. Thank you. Peace, love, community.
See you, everyone.